Hey everyone, we're here at Korg with Volca Modular for Patch of the Week, a series where we build a patch from start to finish and we take you through every step of the way. So this week we're going to be building kind of a ambient patch with a little bit of randomization. The first thing that we're going to do on Volca Modular is turn the tempo to about 1/3, and we're going to go function and choose a scale. I'm using major pentatonic, but whichever scale that you want to work in is fine too. We're going to press function again to get out of that. And now we have a major pentatonic scale across Volca Modular's touch keypad. And we can use that to record a sequence by going function and the record button to enter step recording. If I hit the record button without pressing function first, I would enter normal recording mode. So let's record a quick sequence. So that's a quick sequence of 16 steps, and we're going to press function again to exit step recording. It doesn't really matter what notes you played, because now we're going to press function and randomize note. So this is going to randomize the notes in the sequence. And we can further randomize that by enabling the stochastic sequencer. Or we can use a bounce sequencer, which is what I'm going to be doing for this example. So with the bounce sequencer enabled, the sequence plays forward and then plays backward. So now let's introduce a little bit of patching. The first thing that we want to do is get some dynamic reverb going. And one of the cool things about Volca Modular is that you can use the space out and modulate it so you get a dynamic reverb. So we're going to take the stepped output of the woggle. Remember, that's the random source generator on Volca Modular, sort of a sample and hold, and we're going to go into the modulation input on the space out. And we're going to turn the attenuator on the space out, the knob, all the way down, so any modulation signal applied is going to be applied in addition to the level of 0. So what's going to happen now is that every single step is going to trigger the woggle to sample a random voltage and send it to the modulation input on the space out. So that'll sound like this when we press play. Pretty cool. Now we want to change the division of when the woggle is sampling a voltage. So let's go with a small patch cable from the divided by 3 output of the clock divider and into the trigger of the woggle. So now every third note that fires off from the sequencer is going to send a pulse to the trigger input on the woggle and tell the woggle to sample a voltage. Now we can do other cool things because we have a second random voltage coming out of the woggle, and this time it's smooth. And you can think of that kind of like a track and hold. So we're going to take the output of the track and hold, and we're going to attenuate it first, because we want to have the opposite happen to the destination of this track and hold signal than what's happening to the space out. So we're going to go into the B input on the utility over here, and then we're going to take the second output, the inverting output of the utility, A minus B times C, and we're going to take that and go into the release modulation input on function number 1. So now every time the woggle samples, it's going to sample a different voltage, it's going to send that voltage into the utility, and the utility is going to flip that voltage upside down, and that's going to be determined, the level of that is going to be determined by this C knob right here. And we're going to turn the release all the way up because that's going to be the default. And then C is going to determine how much we're going to modify that release time. So let's play and just kind of mess around with the knobs. So now you can see that when the modulation signal from the woggle is high for the space out, the modulation signal for the release is actually low. Now that we have a sequence with dynamic reverb and dynamic release time on the first function, let's add a little bit of clock modulation. And the way that we're going to do that is to take a short patch cable and loop function number 2, just as we've done in other videos. And we're going to take the output of that and go into the clock modulation input. And now we're going to get a sequence with a very low loop time on function number 2 that's modulating the clock very slowly in kind of an LFO. And if we turn the clock down, knob over here, that's the base value. So the modulation is plus a little bit and minus a little bit from here. And if we turn that down, we'll get a slower overall sequence, but we're still modulating the tempo. So that's this patch of the week patch for Volca Modular. I encourage you to try using the woggle to modulate things like the ratio, the wave folder, and even the pitch of the oscillators, as well as other aspects of the functions. We'll see you next week for next patch of the week.